Chapter 31 Please, Big Sister, Protect Us. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Muchuan scared of the dark and hates horror movies more than anything, but he couldn't look away, trembling with fear, completely captivated. The scariest thing about horror movies for him isn't the ghosts or the gore, it's that moment when a ghost appears right next to a character, and they have no clue, while everyone else is staring at them in terror, and right then, it was happening to him. The idea that Jiang Qilan, usually so cool and collected, could be this freaked out, Bai Muchuan's heart skipped a beat before pounding in his chest. He was too scared to even turn around. What the heck was it? Bai Muchuan felt ice water in his veins and couldn't catch his breath. Help me. Sis. I wanna go home. He instinctively looked to Cheng Ling for help, though he wasn't sure why. Cheng Ling was holding a small wooden stick, aiming it right at his head. Before he could even react, she spun the stick and flung it at him. Whoosh, star, something dropped in front of his face, a spider, dangling from a tree by a web. Bai Muchuan gasped, clutching his chest and staring at the fuzzy spider on the ground. It was just a spider. Relax, it wasn't actually on your face. From your angle, it just looked like it was, Cheng Ling said. Then Bai Muchuan realized Cheng Ling was talking to Jiang Qilan, not him. Jiang Qilan was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. He was staring at the ground, eyes darting around, searching for the spider. So, Jiang Qilan's afraid of spiders? The whole internet was probably finding out Jiang Qilan's weakness, but Jiang Qilan was too panicked to care. He was terrified of his phobia being exposed. What was so scary about it? The spider was crawling towards Jiang Qilan pretty darn fast. And to be fair, such a big spider moving so quickly was pretty creepy. Jiang Qilan bolted from the ground and nearly threw himself into the fire without a second thought. It was a breathtakingly fast escape. Cheng Ling, quick as lightning, grabbed Jiang Qilan before he could incinerate himself. Then, wielding her wooden stick, she leaped forward and flicked the spider away. Hey, even if you're scared, you can't just ignore everything around you, okay? Cheng Ling scolded Jiang Qilan, a bit harsh. He nearly became a human bonfire on live TV. Back when she was training soldiers, anyone who pulled a stunt like that would be running a 20K with full gear as punishment. Jiang Qian's lips were bloodless, and he asked in a shaky voice, Spider, where is the spider? Bro Jiang, chill, the spider's gone, far away. You're good. Bai Muchuan reassured him. Jiang Qilan collected himself and took several deep breaths, finally managing to control his trembling legs. Seeing he was calming down, Cheng Ling let go of his arm. She'd studied a little psychology and knew she had to break him out of his panic. Plus, beyond the live broadcast, the wilderness wasn't exactly a spa day for pampered city dwellers. If Jiang Qilan stayed freaked out, he'd probably get sick. TSK. Such a pain, I'm such a good person. As Cheng Ling internally patted herself on the back, she looked up and gave Jiang Qilan a mock bow. Jiang Qilan, I apologize for doubting your king of pop status. After hearing that scream, anyone with ears in Maple City would agree, you deserve the title. Chat window, ha 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 ha. Cheng Ling wins the internet today. Sarcasm queen. Officially crowned. King Jianggu, your voice is so powerful. I was nearly asleep, but that scream woke me right up. Jiang Qilan is terrified, and she's just making fun of him. Why is Cheng Ling so mean? Come on, she's trying to help Jiang Qilan. She's giving him an out, reminding him to get it together for the cameras. And then, something incredible happened. Jiang Qilan, who'd been chattering and pale just moments ago, snapped back to reality. He straightened his clothes, brushed off the grass and dirt, and said, What? Teacher Cheng hasn't heard my songs. How can she doubt my place as king of pop? It's not that I'm afraid of spiders. It's just that this one was unreasonably huge. I once played a video game where there was a huge canyon full of spiders, and they mutated into. He stood up and retook his seat, trying to keep his eyes from darting around, searching for the spider. He sat down carefully and changed the subject. Do spiders that big attack people? Are they poisonous? Are there any other oversized insects in this forest? that he imagined his neck, ankles, and ears beginning to itch, like he'd been bitten by mosquitoes, and the buzzing in his ears seemed to get louder. Cheng Ling said, hamming it up, weren't you just volunteering to protect delicate flowers like me? You looking for me to protect you now? Big sis. Jiang Qilan clasped his hands in mock supplication. Whether these two useless guys survive this forest depends on you. Cheng Ling immediately picked up on Jiang Qilan's acting. She shot back with a blend of disdain, coldness, defiance, and a touch of amusement. Wild Boar Forest is Cheng family territory. I can handle anything out here. Jiang Qilan put on his best bootlicker impression. Sis, what's the plan? How do we deal with these flying, biting, blood-sucking, hairy, long-legged bugs? Chat window. Wow. People said Cheng Ling couldn't act. Open your eyes. She's nailing this improv, and her presence is stealing the show. I can't believe this is reality TV. More gripping than most dramas. Didn't expect this variety show would be more exciting than a TV series. Bai Muchuan was speechless. How did these two get so carried away? As the only one around the fire who was calm and thinking clearly, the impending mosquito situation was a huge worry. Mosquitoes always went after him. As long as he didn't use repellent, the rest of the crew wouldn't need any at all. Cheng Ling, what are we going to do? Jiang Qilan had just been scared out of his mind, and the excess adrenaline was fueling his acting, which helped him maintain his image. Jiang Qilan raised his eyebrows in mock annoyance. You punk. How dare you speak to big sis like that? With that attitude towards Xiao Bai, I might just let the mosquito army carry him off to be drained dry, Cheng Ling said with a dangerous smile. Bai Muchuan was so creeped out he got goosebumps. Oh no, you too. Jiang Qilan continued his act, looking at Bai Muchuan with a look of utter loyalty to Cheng Ling. What could Bai Muchuan do? He could only bow. Sis Cheng, please help me. Don't let the mosquitoes drag me away. Cheng Ling slowly pulled her backpack closer. Alright. Just for that apology. She yanked out a handful of something weird. It looked like sausages strung on a green stick. Chapter 32. You look so pretty when you smile. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling handed the bundle to Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan, who looked at it with confusion. What is this? Jiang Qilan asked, taking it for a closer look. It seemed to be some kind of plant, a green stem covered with a red, sausage-like growth. Dropping his exaggerated persona for a moment, he wondered, did you grab this from the supply bag? That the plant still felt freshly picked, so it probably wasn't provided by the show. Cheng Ling shook her head. She took one for herself and placed the remaining 3 or 4 on a nearby stone. It's cattail, she explained. Country folks often call it sausage grass. Burning it helps keep mosquitoes away. It's not as effective as modern bug spray, but it helps a bit. Jiang Qilan thought it looked familiar, then remembered. Hey, isn't that what's growing in the grass near the stream? Yep, that's where I got it. Cheng Ling lit the top of hers using the fire. Just light it like this, and it'll burn for an hour or 2. Seriously, where do you learn all this stuff? It's like random trivia, Bai Muchuan said, lighting his and leaning in to sniff it. Actually, it smells pretty good, I just read about it, Cheng Ling added. Back in the day, it was used as medicine too. People said it could help with menstrual problems, stop bleeding, relieve pain, treat rheumatism, but mostly it was for repelling bugs. Cheng Ling watched the cattail burn, a trail of green smoke rising, and checked that it was burning steadily. Then, she stood up, walked to the lean-to she'd built, and fumigated it inside and out. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan stood outside, watching curiously. When Cheng Ling finished, she came out of the shed and brushed off her pants. Grab your tents and sleeping bags, and smoke them out like this to keep away mosquitoes, snakes, scorpions, the whole shebang. Just be careful not to set anything on fire, especially yourselves or your gear. Snakes. Scorpions. Bai Muchuan's eyebrows furrowed. This show was turning into a nightmare. but he immediately followed Cheng Ling's instructions, and Jiang Qilan pulled out his pop-up tent without hesitation. Cheng Ling helped them hold the burning cattails and asked Jiang Qilan in a way that wouldn't bruise his ego, "Need a hand setting up the tent?" Jiang Qilan finally understood how Cheng Ling must have felt when he'd offered to take care of her. "Dude, I can set up any tent you throw at me." Jiang Qilan yanked the tent out of its bag. "Yeah, but can you build a wild tent like Cheng Ling, bro?" Bai Muchuan, completely missing the point, asked innocently, his big eyes wide. Jiang Qian choked. After a long pause, he gave Bai Muchuan a gesture of mock respect. Cheng Ling couldn't help but laugh. It was her first genuine, relaxed laugh, like a firework bursting into bloom. It was dazzling and heartwarming. Online comments. Wow. Cheng Ling's so pretty when she smiles. Like a flower in spring. Sorry, got carried away. Honestly, with how much Cheng Ling's team plays up her looks, I thought she was just okay. But today, I see it. She's really pretty. Whatever. It's just the low light making her look good. It's like those old photos of Hong Kong actresses, blurry and mysterious, which makes them seem more attractive. Is it really so hard to admit someone's pretty? Hey, did you guys see Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan were totally speechless? Wooden Man number 1 Jiang Qilan and Wooden Man number 2 Bai Muchuan stared at Cheng Ling, transfixed. Cheng Ling's smile almost faltered. Noticing their stares, she cleared her throat and looked down. Jiang Qilan snapped out of it and looked down at his tent. Printed on the packaging in giant letters that even the visually impaired could read was "Idiot-proof one-click tent," Jiang Qilan thought. So, the show thinks I'm that dumb. Are they trying to make Cheng Ling look bad? Cheng Ling watched as Bai Muchuan pulled out his sleeping bag, and Jiang Qilan set up the tent. She handed them the cattails she'd been holding and instructed them on the best way to use them. Hold it upside down like this and smoke it from top to bottom, yeah, like that. And don't waste the ashes, spread them around. That'll help keep the bugs away too. The three finished the task meticulously. Cheng Ling couldn't help but yawn. Alright, I'm gonna crash. You guys do whatever, but if one of you falls asleep, wake me up. Hey, can I sleep in the shed? I really want to try out that primitive shelter you built. Jiang Qian asked. His big, puppy dog eyes pleaded. Cheng Ling was overwhelmed by his longing gaze. Ugh, fine. Okay, Cheng Ling said, with great reluctance. Part of Jiang Qian thought sleeping in the tent would be more comfortable, but he really wanted to try the lean-to. It looked like fun. When Cheng Ling nodded, he couldn't wait to crawl inside, only to discover that the shed was bigger than he expected, and incredibly cozy. The carefully arranged gravel, firewood, and hay minimized any uncomfortable bumps, and the air inside was filled with the fresh scent of grass and trees. All human beings' first memories are in their mother's belly. Human beings' love for tents is spontaneous, natural and pure. Jiang Qian was overjoyed, until Bai Muchuan crawled in after him. Wow, it's so comfy in here, Jiang. So cool, that it wasn't so cool anymore now that he was here, but he couldn't exactly kick him out. Jiang Qian looked at Bai Muchuan stretched out. At 5 feet 11 inches, his feet didn't even reach the edge. Wow, it's so spacious. So cool. When I get back, I'm gonna ask Cheng Ling to help me build one in my backyard. Bai Muchuan exclaimed excitedly. Dream on. Jiang Qian scoffed. Come to think of it, Cheng Ling seemed to have a soft spot for this kid. He swatted Bai Muchuan. Get up and keep watch with me for a bit. Meanwhile, Cheng Ling quickly zipped herself into the tent. The campfire gradually quieted down. The sounds of the forest, filtered through the tent screen, captivated the live audience. The dense forest, with the real fire giving off a golden glow instead of artificial light, the chirping insects, the wind rustling through the trees like the sound of waves. The audience yawned, clutching their phones, staring at the screen, brushing their teeth, washing their faces, getting into bed, and falling asleep, unaware of the wonderful show they were about to miss in the second half of the night. Chapter 33 Hijacking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The H-Ranger recruits were terrified of their drill sergeant, Cheng Ling. Especially her sleep training, running, weightlifting, drills, memorizing tactics, and practicing combat shooting were child's play compared to what she put them through. First, Cheng Ling demanded the ability to fall asleep in seconds. Second, even while asleep, they had to stay alert, sensing any danger. Third, if sleep wasn't an option, they had to find a way to stay awake and sharp. Cheng Ling's soldiers could do all this. And Cheng Ling was a sleep master. She'd enter the tent, take off her coat, place it within reach, lie down, and count down, 3, 2, 1, her brain would signal sleep, eyes, dormant, touch, dormant, torso and limbs, dormant, ears, 120% alert. Cheng Ling didn't dream, she remained alert, listening for movement outside, not that she didn't trust Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan, but she trusted no one but herself, even in her light sleep. She could hear Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan chatting casually. Eventually, Bai Muchuan's voice faded, and his breathing deepened. He was out, but Jiang Qilan didn't wake Cheng Ling. She knew he wanted her to get a little more shut-eye. Jiang Qilan rubbed his face, stepped out of the tent, and sat by the fire, poking it with a stick, trying to shake off the sleepiness. He poked at the fire and rubbed his stomach. He'd eaten a rabbit leg, not enough to fill him up, but enough to kill the hunger. Besides, the cattails were working wonders. No mosquito bites, no buzzing in his ears. Even though he initially joined the program to help Fu Yibin, the thought of Cheng Ling being involved had annoyed him. Now, he actually felt it was great that she was here, and he was lucky to be on watch with her. Sparks crackled, flames flickered, casting a fiery glow in his dark eyes. Jiang Qilan felt his eyelids getting heavier. Soon, there were 2 fires in front of him. Jiang Qilan swayed, gritted his teeth, dropped to the ground, and did 20 push-ups before sitting back up. When sleepiness returned, he gritted his teeth and did another set. He had to keep the noise down. Just as he finished his 10th set, he heard the tent zipper. Cheng Ling, refreshed, stepped out of the tent in her outdoor coat, a flush on her face. "Is Bai Muchuan asleep? Why didn't you wake me?" But her voice was soft and a little groggy. "Did I wake you?" Jiang Qilan asked, dodging the question. He tried his best to be quiet during the push-ups. "I was awake. I told you, I don't really need to sleep. You should have woken me." Cheng Ling sat down by the fire. "Okay, go get some rest." A moment later, the lingering effects of sleep completely vanished. Jiang Qilan felt like Cheng Ling could run a marathon right then and there. He didn't argue. It would be better to grab some sleep and try to wake up earlier, maybe giving Cheng Ling a chance for another nap. "All right, I'm going to sleep. Wake me if you need anything." Jiang Qilan stood and walked toward his folding tent. Then, he changed his mind, returned to Cheng Ling's tent, and lay down on the other side of Bai Muchuan. He closed his eyes. 1 minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, damn it. He was so sleepy a moment ago, but now he couldn't fall asleep. Cheng Ling stared at the fire, listening to Jiang Qian's restless breathing, knowing he wasn't asleep. Several times, his breathing slowed, then quickened again. This was likely a mild after effect of being scared by a big spider earlier. His brain was associating sleep with danger, preventing him from easily drifting off. As a protective mechanism, Cheng Ling thought, if Jiang Qian isn't asleep in 20 minutes, I'll step in and physically force him to sleep. She glanced at the makeshift shelter she built and sighed. If I knew these 2 would be crashing in my place, I wouldn't have bothered building it. She looked up at the dark forest, a bit puzzled. Why hasn't whoever's assigning the tasks showed up yet? Just then, the show's producers wrapped up a 3-hour emergency conference call. Cheng Ling's accurate guess about the show's arrangement during the live broadcast had caught them off guard. Should they scrap the original plan? Would viewers think Cheng Ling was cheating with a script? After 3 hours of arguing, they decided to stick to the original plan. Currently, the 7 contestants are split into 4 groups: Cheng Ling, Bai Muchuan, and Jiang Qian, Yang Zhao and fitness coach Lu Dengfeng, parkour star Lu Zhan, and old Banjiu. All alone, the show would use drones to deliver mission items and cards. No sooner said than done. The 4 drone operators rubbed their hands, grabbed their remotes, and powered up their aircraft. Sitting by the fire, Cheng Ling, who was slowly squinting, perked up her ears. "Ah, here they come." Just as she suspected, drones. A faint buzzing sound approached from the distant sky, growing louder. Cheng Ling bent down, picked up a fist-sized rock she'd selected, slipped it into the right pocket of her outdoor jacket, and zipped it up. Then, she took off her coat, rolled it into a long tube. With the rock hanging at the bottom, and gripped the left cuff, a bright red light flashed across the dark sky. The drone operator carefully stared at the screen. The darkness, the dense forest canopy, and the numerous nocturnal birds made it a challenging operation. Sweat beaded on his forehead. The drone had been hovering in the forest for nearly 20 minutes without finding its target. Finally, a faint fire appeared on the screen. The operator sighed in relief. This was Cheng Ling's camp. He steered the drone toward the fire, carefully maneuvering through the trees, and finally hovered steadily above it. He wiped his sweat and prepared to drop the mission card and the supplies. He adjusted the camera and looked down. He was caught off guard and looked into Cheng Ling's eyes. At that moment, Cheng Ling was standing by the fire in short sleeves, looking up at the drone, holding something in her hand. Supervisor Lin, who'd been glued to the screen watching Cheng Ling, gasped. He saw the corner of Cheng Ling's mouth twitch upward. That smile, damn, it looked familiar. Then it hit him. It was the same smile Cheng Ling had before she stole the squirrel. He grabbed the intercom. Supervisor Lin's roar exploded in the operator's ear. Drone 1, Drone 1. Evacuate immediately. Evacuate immediately. Cheng Ling is planning to hijack the drone. What does he mean, hijack? The operator's brain froze. Then, he saw Cheng Ling forcefully swing something long. As soon as he let go, a black, long thing pierced the darkness and hurtled toward the drone. The operator saw the screen shake violently as something jammed the drone's propellers, causing them to stop working. The camera's feed began to spin wildly. Cheng Ling bounced lightly on the spot a few times, then started running. She leaped, used a tree trunk as leverage, grabbed a branch 20 feet up, pulled herself up, and snatched the falling drone. The camera feed finally stabilized. A beautiful, smiling face filled the screen. Thanks for the drone. Sorry, not sorry. Operator. Who said I was giving you a drone? I was using it to send you supplies. Chapter 34. Do you want me to help you fall asleep? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The barrage is blowing up again. I was just complaining about drinking too much coffee this afternoon. Now I'm thanking the coffee shop. This brew is so strong, I almost missed this amazing scene. OMG, she's so skilled. What kind of move was that? Drone operator, what just happened? Did I just get hijacked? Squirrel wiping tears, the tables have turned. Show crew, looks like you're getting robbed by a female bandit this time. The program crew is totally confused. This isn't how this show is supposed to work. Question, was that a bad move? Why use a drone? Yeah, that's the show's equipment. If she damages it, the operator's gonna get reamed. If you don't like it, move on. Who says she can't use the show's drones? Survival in desperate situations means using everything you've got. Exactly. It's just a drone. She can afford to pay for it. Even if she can't, we'll crowdfund it. The show might not have expected it, they're probably freaking out right now. JPG, but they're secretly thrilled. It's just a drone. Cheng Ling just boosted the show's ratings through the roof. I feel bad for anyone who dozed off and missed this. Hey, is Jiang Qilan moving? Jiang Qilan was drifting off when he heard a faint buzzing sound. Sure enough, just like Cheng Ling predicted, the show was sending in supplies via drone in the middle of the night. At first, Jiang Qilan ignored it. He didn't want to waste precious sleep. Then he heard Cheng Ling jumping around outside. What's she up to? Curious, Jiang Qilan sat up and peeked out of the shed. He watched Cheng Ling leap up and snatch the drone right out of the air. Her moves were so smooth and efficient, but that wasn't the point. Why did she steal the drone? Jiang Qilan scrambled out of the shed and rushed over to Cheng Ling, who was examining her prize. Teacher Cheng, what are you doing? Cheng Ling pointed to the drone's power switch, then turned to Jiang Qilan. Isn't it obvious? I'm accepting the show's kind offer. I was worried we didn't have enough supplies. Jiang Qilan was dumbfounded, pointing at the plastic bag hanging from the drone. That bag is the supplies, right? Not the drone. Cheng Ling shook her finger dismissively. Who says we can't use the drone? Before we started the show, they told us we could use all the resources around us to survive. Am I wrong? Jiang Qilan, yeah, but, we're filming a show. Cheng Ling detached the bag, held the drone like a trophy, and said excitedly, wow. This drone is awesome. It has 4 propellers, so we can use them as knives or tools. I can take apart the motor, screws, accessories, and camera and make all sorts of handy gadgets. Jiang Qilan didn't get it. What would you use those for? Cheng Ling looked up, her face alight with excitement. Out here, the most important thing is tools. If we don't have any, we have to make some. That'll give us a better chance of surviving and make life a little easier. What can you even do with a propeller? You can sharpen it and use it as a knife for hunting, scaling fish, gutting fish, peeling food, or using it as a wedge. Imagine if you fell into a deep pit. How would you get out? If you had a strong, one-shaped tool like this, you could jam it into the wall and climb out, Cheng Ling explained. Jiang Qilan was speechless. Of course, I can keep most of the drone and leave just one propeller. I can open up the drone, fix the direction, and use it as a fan. And if I put a lit cattail in front of the propeller, it will blow the smoke in a specific direction, repelling mosquitoes even better. Seeing Jiang Qian's shocked expression, she realized she was rambling. She quickly changed the subject. Of course, that's all just stuff I read in a book. Theory, basically. Jiang Qian sighed. Even if it's just theory, your knowledge is still astonishing. Then, he yawned. Can't sleep. Cheng Ling looked at Jiang Qian's tired face. Want me to help you? Barrage. Sorry. I've read too many dirty books. My mind went straight to the gutter. To be honest, me too. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm not finding that sexy at all. I'm just worried about Jiang Qian. I bet Cheng Ling's way of helping involves knocking him out with a chop to the neck. I just tuned in. What did I miss? Who's gonna hurt Jiang Qian? If anyone would do that, it's Cheng Ling. She'd do anything to survive. Is Cheng Ling really that awful? Seriously, whoever's trying to smear Cheng Ling, get out of here. Nobody's buying it. Jiang Qian looked stunned. After a pause, he swallowed hard and asked hesitantly, how are you planning to help? Cheng Ling raised her right hand. Jiang Qian, instantly wary, took a step back. Cheng Ling. Jiang Qian covered the back of his neck. Don't hit me. I don't like getting hurt. Cheng Ling didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Have you been reading too many kung fu novels? You think I'm gonna knock you out? In front of millions of viewers? Seriously? If I actually knocked you out, your fans would sue me for assault. How would I ever work again? Tough guys always appear on the bullet screens. Someone instantly caught on to Cheng Ling's implication. Sister Cheng saying if this wasn't live, she'd actually do it. Now that you mention it. I think so too. Jiang Qian sighed in relief and lowered his hand. So, how can you help? Cheng Ling raised her right hand and made a wave-like motion with her fingers, starting with her index finger, then middle finger, ring finger, and pinky, repeatedly. It's a sleep-inducing technique hypnotists use. Lie down, watch my fingers, don't blink, and you'll be asleep in no time. Jiang Qian was skeptical but nodded. Okay, I'll give it a try. He went back to the shed and lay down, this time with his head facing outward. Cheng Ling squatted at the entrance, raised her hand, and held it just above his head. Watch my hand, and silently count in your head, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, and repeat. Jiang Qian hummed in agreement and watched Cheng Ling's hand. Her fingers were slender, but the palms and fingertips were rough. It was a surprisingly appealing contrast. Her fingers rose and fell like waves, swaying. Chapter 35 Mission, Cabin in the Woods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Qian's eyelids felt heavy. but he couldn't take his eyes off the finger hovering over his face. Time seemed to slow down, he felt like he was underwater, all sound muffled. Only the swaying finger remained, a strange symbol burned onto his retinas, then, a snap, something clicked in his brain, his eyelids sealed shut, but the dancing finger still flickered behind them, repeating, he slumped to the side, fast asleep. Cheng Ling, seeing he was out, kept going, squatting and moving her finger back and forth in front of his closed eyelids. She kept at it until his breathing was deep and even. Finally, she stood, pushing off her knees. Seriously? Jiang fell asleep? In, like, 2 minutes. Is he acting? No way he could fall asleep that fast. Maybe he was just super tired. Her little finger dance probably just pushed him over the edge. As someone with a master's in brain neurology from Beijing University, I can confirm that rhythmic movements can be used to hypnotize people. Works every time. That's insane. Cheng Ling needs to teach a class. Seriously. All parents of toddlers would sign up. I'd be first in line. My kid takes 2 hours to go to sleep every night. Cheng Ling walked over to the fire, grabbed Jiang's backpack, and propped it up next to his head. Hold up, why'd she put the bag by his head? Because Bai sleeps facing in, and Jiang faces out. Bai might accidentally kick Jiang in the head. The backpack is a buffer. Oh, gotcha. She's so considerate. Wait a sec. Isn't Jiang's foot aimed at Bai's head? Who's protecting Bai from getting kicked? Does Bai even have a brain to protect? Hey, maybe Jiang kicking him will give him an epiphany. Cheng Ling sat back by the fire, threw on some more wood, and started tearing into the package the drone dropped off. It was about the size of a shoebox, sealed in plastic. Inside were 3 identical task cards. She grabbed one and read it by the firelight. Welcome to Wild Boar Forest. Deep in the Wild Boar Forest, a northern primeval wilderness, lies a secret unknown to outsiders. Legend says terrible beasts slumber here. Weak city dwellers, you've come at the worst possible time. The beasts are awake. They fear the sun and must wait for nightfall to hunt. Don't despair, there's hope ahead. Deep in the Wild Boar Forest is a hidden treasure house. The owner possesses great wealth and a map of the forest. Can you reach the house safely before the next sunset? Mission objective: find the abandoned wooden house and convince the owner to give you wealth and the map before the next sunset. Cheng Ling read it again. That's it. Seems too easy. Guess a reality show can't be too hard. She tossed the card aside, stone-faced. The audience was losing it. Task card. What does it say? Can't see from this angle. What does the card say? Show, stop being useless and put the text on the screen. Guys, she's about to open the supply pack. Stop spamming or they'll shut down the chat. Cheng Ling unwrapped the supplies. 3 small packages, all about the same weight. She grabbed one at random, leaving the other 2 on the ground. Inside, a rectangular medicine box, a stainless steel bowl, and a pack of pads. She checked the label on the box. Water purification tablets. Her lips were dry. The water from the fruit Jiang found was almost gone. Water was her priority right now. They were close to the stream, but she couldn't drink straight from it. She needed to treat it first to avoid getting sick or catching parasites. Perfect. The bowl could be used to boil water, and she had 15 tablets to disinfect it. With these 2 things, she could survive in this forest for a long time. She wanted to go get water from the stream, but she was hesitant to leave camp. The 2 idiots were sound asleep. If she left and got taken by wild animals, she wouldn't feel good about it. Early the next morning, Wang Zhen woke up. As a good agent, her life was a whirlwind of artist schedules. She dropped Cheng Ling at survival yesterday and rushed to another set with another artist. Filming went on until dawn. The location was in the mountains, and the signal was terrible. She wanted to see Cheng Ling's performance, but the stream kept buffering. The artist wasn't doing well and kept getting yelled at. Wang Zhen had to smooth things over with the director. Finally, late at night, she got back to her room. She wanted to check Weibo, but she was too exhausted and fell asleep before the page loaded. The next day, her artist was off. Wang Zhen gave a few instructions and raced out of the mountains by car. She fired up Weibo, but the connection was still spotty. The little circle spun forever before finally loading. Top trending topic. Hashtag Cheng Ling hijacking hashtag .5 20 million views, 210,000 conversations. Wang Zhen blinked. Hashtag Cheng Ling hijacking hashtag *hijacking. Star that wasn't Cheng Ling on a survival show. How could she be hijacked? Did she quit early and get robbed on her flight back to Fengcheng? Her heart pounded. The road was bumpy, the screen was shaking, and she felt dizzy. She clicked on the hashtag with trembling fingers. Spear stabber. Hashtag Cheng Ling hijacking hashtag. Ever since she got to the show, she's been robbing the crew. I was worried she'd rob Bai and Jiang too. What was this all about? Wang Zhen was confused, but also relieved. It didn't sound like she was in danger, just causing a ruckus on the show. She scrolled back and saw the trending topics. Wow, Cheng Ling had taken up 4 out of the top 10 spots. The other 3 were, hashtag Cheng Ling's got 2 younger brothers, Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan hashtag, hashtag Cheng Ling hypnotized Jiang Qilan hashtag Cheng Ling caught a drone barehanded and her parkour skills are better than Lu Zhan hashtag. Wang Zhen finally understood. Relief washed over her, mixed with amusement. That kid was full of surprises. She settled in for the ride, opened the streaming app, and found Cheng Ling's feed to see what she was up to. Cheng Ling wasn't doing much. She had spent the night disassembling the drone. Bai Muchuan looked confused, pointing at the wreckage on the ground. What is that? Where did it come from? Chapter 36. Her eyes are as bright as searchlights. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Muchuan's booming voice jolted Jiang Qilan awake. It took Jiang Qilan a good 10 seconds to get his bearings. Man, he'd slept like a log. So comfy. He'd slept till dawn. He was supposed to cover Cheng Ling's shift, right? Hopefully, Bai Muchuan took over for Cheng Ling and let her get some rest. Just then, Bai Muchuan yelled, "Why does this look like a drone?" Judging by that sentence, he had no clue what went down last night, and his energy was through the roof. Yeah, he definitely slept soundly all night. Cheng Ling sighed, looking at Bai Muchuan with a "you gotta be kidding me" expression. The guy was something else. He could turn a peaceful morning into a 3-ring circus all by himself. She briefly explained, "It's not a drone, it is a drone. Some supplies the show was nice enough to send. The show's crew, we did." Jiang Qilan hurried out of the shelter, greeting Cheng Ling first. "Morning. Sorry, I totally overslept. You were up all night, weren't you? You must be beat. Want to crash now?" Bai Muchuan eyed Cheng Ling. She'd pulled her long hair into a bun for convenience, showing off her whole face. Everything in its place. Dude, she was up the night before too. No way, look how bright her eyes are, like spotlights. Spotlights. Jiang Qilan just shook his head. Bai Muchuan, seriously, go back and work on your Mandarin, or you're gonna offend the wrong person and end up in a dumpster, Jiang Qilan advised, dead serious. Your Chinese teacher would probably cry in the bathroom if they heard your descriptions. Bai Muchuan touched his face, looking confused. But my fans say I have an amazing way with words. Amazing, my foot. Jiang Qilan gave up arguing and squatted next to Cheng Ling. That's when he noticed 2 bags beside the mangled drone. Hey, did the show drop this off? Jiang Qilan asked. Yeah, 3 in total. I figured they'd all be the same, so I opened one. You guys can each take one. Cheng Ling stood up, stretched her shoulders and neck, and told them, get ready, we're moving out soon. Bai Muchuan, who was thinking this place was paradise and he could camp out here until the end of the show, when he heard Cheng Ling was talking about leaving, he immediately started to freak out. Why do we have to leave? This place is perfect. We've got food, water, shelter. It's not too hot, not too cold, and there are even mosquito-repellent plants. It's not my call, the show wants us to move, Cheng Ling said, bending to pick up the task card and handing it to them. Read this. Jiang Qilan took the card but didn't even glance at it. He saw Cheng Ling neatly gathering the drone parts, stuffing them into the plastic bags the show had used for the supplies, and then packing everything into her bag. She slung the bag over her shoulder and started walking away. Jiang Qilan stood there, dumbfounded. Was she really leaving? Without a second thought, Jiang Qilan dropped the task card and grabbed Cheng Ling's backpack strap. Cheng Ling stopped, looked back at him, and raised her eyebrows in a silent what? Jiang Qilan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Cheng Ling had made it crystal clear that she wasn't teaming up with them, just as resolute as he had been when he turned down by Muchuan. Cheng Ling had gotten them food, helped with the bugs, and stayed up all night for them. Did he really have any right to ask why she was ditching them? Bai Muchuan didn't overthink things. When he saw what was happening, he just panicked. Hey, are you leaving? Cheng Ling glanced at Jiang Qilan, who was still clutching her backpack strap. The big dude, all 6 feet of him, was looking at her with this sad, puppy dog expression. Seeing him like that, Cheng Ling couldn't help but think of the puppy she'd had for a few months when she was 5. Every time she left, the puppy would tug on her pants leg, not barking or yelping, just staring at her with those big, watery eyes. Honestly, Cheng Ling hadn't really planned on leaving. She just wanted to freshen up and find some stream water to boil for drinking. Jiang Qilan realized he was acting like a fool and let go of the strap. He looked like he knew he was in the wrong and was sorry for it. Just like that puppy he'd secretly kept in the abandoned building. First, it would try to keep her from leaving, and then it would sheepishly let go. He looked exactly like that puppy now. OMG, look at Jiang. I'll give you anything. Is Jiang being soft and cute? Never thought I'd see the day when a nobody actress could make Jiang Qilan pull that puppy dog face. Cheng Ling's heart softened, and she finally sighed. I'm not ditching you guys. We'll leave together later. Bai Muchuan burst out. Does that mean you're letting us join your team? Fine. Cheng Ling sighed again. Yeah, I'm just afraid you two would pack up and head straight back to Fengqing if I left alone. Jiang Qian's eyes lit up. So, go and come back quickly. Can we help with anything? Find some fruit. Or? Jiang Qilan asked eagerly. You two should stay here and try to keep the fire going. Also, pack up the tent and your backpacks. Read the task card and I want to hear your thoughts when I get back. Cheng Ling went to the stream, took off her jacket, splashed some water on her face and neck, and shook the water off. The sun streamed through the trees, highlighting her face. Her makeup-free face, fresh with water, was gorgeous in the light. That skin, still so smooth after pulling an all-nighter. Cheng Ling is so beautiful. Love, Cheng Ling is my new wife. Cheng Ling gathered more than a dozen thick cattails, carefully put them in her backpack, and then filled a stainless steel bowl with water and set it on the ground. She didn't use water purification tablets because they had a fire going, and boiling the water was a simple, safe way to get clean drinking water. She was saving the water purification tablets for when they needed more water and couldn't start a fire. She placed the bowl of water on the ground and said to the bushes, "Please turn off the camera, I need to take care of something." The show was planning to cut the camera when the guests went to the bathroom anyway, but the direction Cheng Ling was facing was straight at their camera. Everyone watching felt like she was looking right at them. The camera was hidden under a handmade model made of tree branches. Even the prop team that set it up would have a hard time finding it, let alone the guests. "Director," he said, "cut the camera." Was the camera exposed? The prop team wiped their foreheads. Impossible. It's well hidden. Let me show you the picture. He found the photo he'd taken, and director, he enlarged it. Among all the trees, there was no trace of the camera. How did she find it? Or was it just a lucky guess? Cheng Ling had surprised them too many times. They couldn't underestimate any of her actions. Cheng Ling didn't just take care of a personal problem, she also secretly buried something, the GPS signal locator from the drone. Maybe she was being paranoid, but she had noticed some suspicious signs. After the show, she was going to find a way to come back here and search carefully. Chapter 37 Wild Boar Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling waited a minute, giving the crew time to cut the camera. As soon as the screen went black, the comments exploded. OMG, are they gonna have to pee outside? That sounds so sketch. Never even thought about that. Is it a pain for them to find a bathroom out there? Anyone gonna mention Cheng Ling teaming up with Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan? Honestly, not surprised. Cheng Ling seems like the responsible type. She said it was a hassle, but she's still looking out for those two dudes. Yeah, those old guys slept like babies while she was out there dismantling drones and what was she doing? Doing what now? Someone spill the tea. I passed out last night. Same, I nodded off when Cheng Ling hypnotized Jiang Qilan. Just watched her hand and poof. Lucky you missed it. Cheng Ling was doing push-ups, crunches, planks. She's working hard for that body. Don't forget the roast rabbit she devoured yesterday. I was wondering how she stayed so slim. Can't relate. All I want after work is chips and Netflix. How's the crew handling Cheng Ling's bathroom breaks? They're not peeping, right? Everyone got a little worried. A beat later, the crew answered. Cheng Ling reappeared, carrying water and her backpack, headed back to camp. Several cameras by the stream switched back on. When she got back, Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan were going at it. Cheng Ling didn't interrupt. Instead, she moved 3 big rocks to make a makeshift stove. She put a metal basin filled with water on top, grabbed some firewood from the fire, and fed it between the stones, right under the basin, all while listening to their argument. Bai Muchuan, there are monsters in this forest. I saw it on Shenangjia Wildman, unidentified beasts. Are humans the only smart species? This show must know something, and we're the lab rats. I wanna go home. Jiang Qilan, patiently, those shows are clickbait garbage. Fake news. If the show actually found something, they'd call the government, the military, scientists. Why would they need us? Dude. I heard about people who like to sacrifice people to demons. Dude, why'd you kick me? Jiang Qilan facepalmed. If you keep talking crazy, they'll ban you for spreading nonsense. Just shut up, okay? Bai Muchuan, not backing down. Fine, then what do you think is going on? Jiang Qilan, the show probably planted stuff to make it exciting, like crew dressed as monsters, and people in the cabin are probably staff too. As for treasure, the most valuable thing out here is survival gear. They'll probably give us supplies and maps. I bet they'll make us find our way out of Wild Boar Forest. He looked up at Cheng Ling. What do you think, Cheng Ling? Sis, you're back. Bai Muchuan turned around, noticing her. Hold up on my opinion. Put yourself in the show's shoes. What's their number one priority? Jiang Qilan, safety. Bai Muchuan thought about it and nodded. Yep, safety first. Cheng Ling agreed, holding up 2 fingers. And number 2. Ratings. Jiang Qilan remembered Fu Yibin's constant focus on viewership. Exactly. Cheng Ling nodded. Gotta keep everyone safe and make it watchable, exciting, and interesting. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan were all ears. If you think like the other person, it saves a lot of trouble. Imagine you're the show's planner, you come here, check it out, and find some safety hazards. How do you help the guests avoid them? Give them clues to stay safe while completing the mission. I think the cabin guy is staff, but the monster might be real. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan were stunned. How do you think places get their names? Cheng Ling asked. They shook their heads. Cheng Ling explained, some are named after directions, some after landmarks, and some after what they mean. Seeing their serious faces, she elaborated. Like Hebei, that's north of the Yellow River. Heilongjiang is named after the Heilongjiang River, and Qinghai after Qinghai Lake. Then you got Chongqing, which means double celebration, and Hong Kong, which was famous for spices, so it was a big spice port. Wow, learning stuff, Bai Muchuan said, then frowned. Why are we talking about this? Jiang Qilan said, Wild Boar Forest. Cheng Ling nodded. Exactly. The mission card calls this place Wild Boar Forest. Probably because there are tons of wild boars. The cabin's location probably has even more of them nearby. The show is warning us to watch out for wild boars. The chat blew up with 666,666, equivalent to LOL or amazing. Not trying to scare you, Cheng Ling said, but last night, I heard digging sounds. I bet it was a wild boar. By Muchuan. Let's pack up and go. Cheng Ling shook her head. Not yet. Let's get some water and food first. Wild boars usually don't come out during the day. Jiang Qilan, can you grab more fruit from where you were yesterday? By Muchuan, can you boil some water before we drink it? What about the water purification tablets? By Muchuan asked. Save M. Boiled water tastes better anyway, Cheng Ling explained. He got right to it. Jiang Qilan got the fruit, Bai Muchuan fetched the water, and Cheng Ling's water was already boiling. She took it off the fire to cool. Hey, this forest is huge. How are we gonna find that cabin? Bai Muchuan took a bite of fruit, it was so sour his face scrunched up. Chapter 38 Cheng Ling, are you cheating? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling pulled out the dried fruit from her bag and split it into 3 piles. She found a weak spot on one of the chestnuts, squeezed, and popped out a whole, perfect nut. When you're picking a spot for a cabin, you've got to think about safety first, like avoiding landslide areas. But you also need the basics, like water. I'm guessing it's near the stream, probably on the south side. That way, you get more sun and less wind. It'll probably be halfway up the slope, not right next to the water, because the stream can get pretty wild during the rainy season. You don't want to be at the bottom either, because of flooding and mudslides. And the top of the mountain is too exposed to the wind. So, south-facing slope, halfway up, near the stream. That's clue number 1. She popped the chestnut in her mouth. A little dry. Jiang Qilan peeled his own chestnut and tried it. Nice. Let's see if we can find more of these today, he said, swallowing the chestnut. Where did you find them? Maybe Muchuan and I can grab some. We raided a squirrel's stash. Those guys are good at hiding stuff. But we don't have time to be that thorough, so we'll just grab some as we go, Cheng Ling said, cracking an acorn between her teeth. A squirrel's stash. Bai Muchuan asked, looking at her while he ate. Can you teach me how to find those? Not enough time. Let's finish up, pack our stuff, and hit the trail. The sooner we find that cabin, the better. Jiang Qilan took a swig of water and frowned. But, we don't have a compass. How are we going to know which way to go? Easy. In the northern hemisphere, the side of a tree that gets the most sun grows more. And you can use the wind direction and the sun's position. You can figure it out if you pay attention. Cheng Ling looked at their eager faces, but didn't elaborate. Dried fruit is tasty, but it makes you thirsty. The water they boiled was still a little warm, she licked her lips. You guys should watch some more survival shows, learn to observe, and you'll pick up on the patterns. A water bottle appeared in front of her, it was Jiang Qilan. Cheng Ling looked at him. I wiped the rim with a sanitizing wipe, he said smoothly. You can have some. The show's got my physical exam report. I'm clean. Cheng Ling wasn't a germaphobe, besides, Jiang Qilan had wiped the bottle. Back when she was an H-Ranger, dozens of people would share one bottle and a single set of utensils. She took it. Thanks. She tipped her head back and took a few long pulls, wiped her mouth, and held the bottle out again. Jiang Qilan hesitated, staring at the small, damp spot on the bottle, and his heart did a little flutter. Cheng Ling saw his hesitation, gave him an apologetic smile, wiped the bottle rim with her sleeve, and offered it back. This time, Jiang Qilan grabbed it without a second thought and quickly capped it. Cheng Ling continued. The location isn't really the trick. It's how we find the cabin. It's supposed to be abandoned, so someone must have lived there or used it before. Like I said, people need water. The cabin has to be close to the stream. We can just walk along the bank and look for a path. Follow the path, and we'll find it. I doubt the show is trying to make this impossible. It'd be embarrassing if nobody could find it. That's clue number 2. The show's crew were floored. Director He and producer Lin exchanged shocked glances. They were the masterminds. Their team of dozens had been working around the clock for months, and Cheng Ling had cracked their code with a couple of casual observations. If they weren't so tight-lipped about their planning, they would have sworn she'd gotten hold of the script. And those wild boars hanging around the cabin were giving them fits. But that cabin was the best spot in the whole forest to stage this challenge. Like Cheng Ling said, the cabin was obvious and not too hard to find. Even if the contestants got lost, the crew would send someone to pick them up. Points would definitely be deducted. Of course, safety was the show's #1 priority. The entire crew had the same thought: is Cheng Ling cheating? Then Cheng Ling raised a third finger. Clue number 3, wild boars. The show's crew, what? What third clue? We don't know anything about a third clue. Chapter 39 The Fighting Scum Among the Scum. Funny, she is obviously the king among the big guys. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cheng Ling explained, Jiang Qilan found wild fruit. Where there's one, there are usually dozens, spread by animals throughout the forest. Since the program team warned us about wild animals, we shouldn't leave the cabin much. There are probably a lot of wild boars around. They're omnivores, and if there's plenty of fruit, they'll go for the easiest, tastiest option. Plus, the reason so many boars are near the cabin is probably because there's a small patch of fruit trees there. So, with those clues, finding the cabin shouldn't be too hard. The program team was floored. There was a small patch of 30+ wild fruit trees outside the cabin. They'd figured the guests could at least grab some fruit if they got hungry. The only downside was the boar activity. Turns out, the boars were just as interested in the fruit trees as they were. Some of the crew had whispered that Cheng Ling was a rich girl, a brainless beauty, boy crazy, and basically useless. They totally looked down on her, now. Nobody dared. What kind of useless was this? Was she secretly some amazing CEO? Director Lin remembered Cheng Ling saying her fee wouldn't be so low next time. I'm not crazy, I'm just good at what I do. Even if it's easy to find, prepare for a long walk today. Hiking in the woods is tough, drains your energy, and can mess up your feet. Speaking of which, Cheng Ling set down the nut shell, popped the last chestnut into her mouth, grabbed her backpack, and pulled out a package of pads from the drone delivery. You should both have pads in your kits too. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan looked a little awkward, but nodded. Cheng Ling tore open the package, unfolded 2 pads, and showed them how to do it. Unfold it like this, stick it to the sole of your shoe, line it up, it's got adhesive on the back. Cheng Ling glanced at the packaging. The logo wasn't covered, so the brand was clearly a sponsor. She remembered the desperate survival ads she'd seen online, and yep, it checked out. So, she held up the pad and gave a shout-out to the camera. XX brand pads, for girls and guys, you deserve it. Ha ha ha, if I was that brand, I'd be throwing money at Cheng Ling right now. I'm not even mad about this product placement. More of this, Sister Ling. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan were speechless for a second, then burst out laughing. Who knew Cheng Ling was so sly and funny, despite seeming serious all the time? Jiang Qilan felt himself liking her more and more. He couldn't help asking, genuinely confused, why weren't you popular before? Weren't you basically blacklisted by the entire internet? And Jiang Qilan glanced at Bai Muchuan, whose face was still covered in dried fruit remnants, and continued, I heard you used to be really into this guy. Bai Muchuan was offended. Hey, Jiang, low blow. You can praise me without dissing me. Cheng Ling also glanced at Bai Muchuan. Oh, him. I'm friends with Sister Xian. I'm just looking after him, since we're at the same agency, you know. She winked. Jiang Qilan and a lot of viewers got the message immediately. Ah, got it, package deal. After all this time, everyone knew it was nonsense that Cheng Ling had no feelings for Bai Muchuan. How could you say you felt nothing with that level of contempt? Zero feelings, totally. Cheng Ling suddenly smiled, a smile tinged with disappointment, bitterness, resentment, and sadness. As for why I wasn't popular, mostly because no good writers or directors believed in me. I kept getting offered these dumb, villainous roles. The internet called me the flower of evil. The chat lit up. 55,555, I feel so bad for Ling. Can we start a GoFundMe to get her a good script? I'm in. My badass queen is actually more sensitive than anyone else. It's been so hard for you all these years, forced into those package deals, stuck with those awful roles. I even trashed you. I'm a terrible person, ... Stop it, a lot of us probably feel like terrible people right now, ... They say don't trust anything you read online. Why did I ever believe it? Cheng Ling, I'm so sorry. I'm supporting you from now on. Chapter 40 Boyfriend Power Max. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Qilan felt this overwhelming urge to protect her, damn it, he thought, this sleazy entertainment industry. Every day, it's the same old crooked stuff, and all the good roles and scripts get snatched up by these so-called traffic stars. A genuinely talented star like Cheng Ling was getting buried, I'll find the script for Cheng Ling myself when I get back, if Cheng Ling doesn't hit the big time, I'll eat my hat, with that, he viciously crunched down on the last acorn in his hand, as if he were chewing up some capitalist who only cared about chasing trends, okay, that's enough. Any more would be overkill, Cheng Ling thought, she instantly dropped the smile that had been flickering across her face. As if realizing she'd been on the verge of saying too much, she quickly snapped back to her usual self, clapping her hands. All right, let's eat up, pack our things, and get ready to go. Your chance will come. Talent always shines through. Don't be sad, Cheng Ling. She smiled. I know. You guys just finish eating. Bai Muchuan and Jiang Qilan drank water and ate dried fruit. Following Cheng Ling's instructions, they began using sanitary napkins as makeshift insoles. They poured the remaining cool water into their mineral water bottles, and mimicking Cheng Ling, covered the fire with sand, making absolutely sure no sparks remained. Then, they hoisted their backpacks. Tie your pant legs tight and tuck them into your socks, Cheng Ling said, bending down to do the same. Keeps the mosquitoes from crawling up your legs. Jiang Qilan and Bai Muchuan secured their pants. Cheng Ling then handed them each a walking stick. The sticks were straight and smooth, without any snags, and felt comfortable to hold. Wow, this stick is great! Bai Muchuan exclaimed. What's it for? Self-defense. It can be used for that, but mainly it's for feeling around. There might be traps, holes dug by snakes or rabbits, or small, muddy sinkholes in this forest. Don't just rush when you're walking. In areas with thick vegetation and poor lighting, you have to use a stick like this. She tapped the ground with hers. Give it a try, see if it feels okay, then take a step. But don't worry, I'm here, so you're safe. I'll lead the way, just follow me. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Total girlfriend goals. Okay, I'm officially crushing. Can't believe I set my alarm early on a weekend just to watch Cheng Ling. But it's so worth it. I'm declaring right here, right now, Cheng Ling is my next crush. Before coming to the campsite, Cheng Ling had already fixed her direction. She had mentally drawn a picture based on the sunlight, streams, tree direction, and a bit of triangulation. She had a rough idea of where the cabin should be, so, stick in hand, she led the way, heading off in the direction she determined. Bai Muchuan, always the chatterbox, started talking about the best restaurants in Fengcheng and then switched to funny stories from his childhood. It felt like a class field trip. He was just non-stop, to be honest. Cheng Ling didn't mind Bai Muchuan. The kid seemed a little goofy and innocent, but he had a good heart. Jiang Qilan stayed quiet, only chiming in occasionally. Cheng Ling was focused on leading the way. If she were alone, it would be a lot easier. She'd tap the ground lightly with each step, and if something felt wrong, she could pull her foot back instantly. but the two behind her didn't have that skill, and she couldn't teach it in a few quick words, so Cheng Ling paid extra attention, carefully avoiding several sunken holes and the carcasses of rotten animals. They walked for 2 hours. Bai Muchuan, who had been jabbering at first, grew increasingly quiet, and his steps grew heavier. Cheng Ling had already slowed her pace, but Bai Muchuan still struggled to keep up. Still, he gritted his teeth and didn't say a word, until Bai Muchuan's foot dragged, and he tripped over a tree root that stretched across the path. Careful! Cheng Ling reacted instantly, extending her stick to break Bai Muchuan's fall. Jiang Qilan also helped steady him, looking at his feet. Tripped on a root, right? Cheng Ling, noticing the sweat beading on Bai Muchuan's forehead and his pale lips, said, "We need to take a break. Jiang, look after Muchuan, give him some water. I'll go find a clean place to sit." "Okay," Jiang Qilan replied. Cheng Ling moved quickly, locating several large, flat stones that looked like natural tables. They were reasonably clean. After checking the area for hazards, she returned to the others and led them to the spot. Bai Muchuan couldn't go on. He collapsed onto one of the rocks and dropped his backpack. He was so exhausted he didn't even have the energy to complain. Jiang Qilan seemed better. He handed Cheng Ling the water bottle and asked, "How long have we been walking?" Hiking in the wilderness without a watch or phone made it difficult to keep track of time. He was just curious, Cheng Ling replied, "About 2 hours." She'd been counting her heartbeats. She hadn't been doing anything strenuous, so her heart rate was steady. It wasn't something she was doing deliberately. It was just a habit she'd picked up during her time in the H Rangers.